All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's going on, everybody? We're back from the weekend. Hope everybody out there had a good weekend. Talking some baseball, nice little 8-game slates. Not the 14, 15 games that we've had a couple of these Mondays. I like 8 games, though. Pitching, a lot of different options. Some clear-cut chalk, but there's some good pivots, no doubt. Bats, a little more tricky. A couple spots stick out, but they are pretty expensive. Interesting slate. Excited to dive in. Get some knowledge from you, Nades. Talk some winners. What's going on? How was your weekend? How's your day going, Nades?
Yo, Title, good to be back, man. Happy Monday. Good to be back in the chat. Seeing everyone in here. Our guy Hamwich. We got Jay Steele. We got everyone in here. Tolga, everyone. Bill, Brian. We appreciate y'all tuning in. But no, weekend was great. Played a lot of golf. Played a softball tournament. A little co-ed action, which typically I do not. It was my first softball tournament I played all year. We lost the first game and had to play 6 straight in the 80-degree heat, 85, whatever it was, hot and humid, and so that was really fun. Smashed some nice food after that. Went to bed, popped a little goodie, if you know what I'm talking about. Got some good rest, and came back home. I'm gonna ship the Sunday slate. Baseball was great over the weekend. I know we continue to print winners over here, and tons of great ROI screenshots, which is awesome to see. Our members have been absolutely crushing using the tools, the content projections, everything we have over here for, $59 a month. It's unbelievable price. I can't believe we're still charging $59. Other sites out there, 120, 130, 140 bucks plus additional costs for additional sports, which NFL starting, things like that. But now ready to dive in. Interesting little 8-game slate here tonight. We got great pitching, very deep pitching. We got expensive bats to pay for, so it's going to be interesting to see how people approach this slate. But ready to dive in.
Hamwich has a great question before we get anywhere. Did you get any digits?
Hamwich, don't worry about what Nades does out on the town, but we got the job done. That's all I'm going to say. We got the job done. Title knows. We're playing around out here, but we're ready to dive into MLB winners. That's a different story for another time. We'll keep that behind closed doors there, Hamwich, and
I like that. The digits. Haven't heard that in a little bit. Did he get any digits? Hamwich the man. He had a great weekend last week. A lot of members, some great weekend. But let's see who we got in chat today before we go game by game as usual. Creative Thinking in here. He beats Pairby and Mike Carr. What's going on, Creative Thinking? Mike Carr, Pairby, Reezer, K Petta in here. Brian's in here. Jay Steele, Beetle Bain, our man Hamwich, Richie Smalls, Gator Nation, Jetty, Dana Hill, Toga, Kid Lineman. Who else we got in here? My man Jake. What's going on, Jake? Appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Jason's in here. What's going on, Jason? Jack's in here as well. 112 of you hanging out with us so far. Hope everybody having a great day. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I'm having a good day, but that'll make my day even a little better seeing those thumbs ups. If you want to head over and subscribe to SHIPITNation.com. Absolutely been on a roll. MLB, MMA. Congrats to Hebrew. Absolutely on fire. Shipped like $38,000 in the MMA streets. Hurtfully caught me at the end. Had the solo shipper going to the last fight. Almost got there. Not close enough, but good to see Hebrew get the job done. PGA Streets been on fire too. NFL will be coming up on Friday. Stay tuned this week on Friday. Hoop and Tambo will be doing an NFL launch. I'm talking a little bit about what we will have. Ton of content too. I'm very excited for it. What content will we have going to the NFL season? Everything you need, we had you covered. We'll have stack rankings. We'll have projections, core plays, and then more information about show schedule and stuff coming out on Friday. Best ball still going on, though. Marley and I will be going live Wednesday doing the best ball draft with the special guest, too, so make sure to tune in for that. Of course, baseball, basketball will be here before we know it. Everything you need to be successful over here at SHIPITNation.com. One low price, $59 a month, $599 a year. And, of course, before we get into it, got to shout out our partners over there at drafters.com. If you aren't signed up over there, if you don't have an account, Huge best ball prize pools going on, $20 for 300,000 to first, $3 for 30,000. Might see some overlay too. Get in the best ball streets on drafters.com. Use that promo code SHIPIT. They will match 100% from $20 all the way up to $100. Now that housekeeping is taken care of, though, Nades, 8 games. It's time to dive in. The only weather game on the slate, shouldn't say the only one. The one that looks the most isn't even on the slate, actually. Chicago and the Mets is the other one. I was talking about Washington, Philly. That game's at 6:40 Eastern. So if you're playing the turbo slate or something, monitor that. On the main slate, though, looks like looking at Roth's report right here, Chicago and the Mets, orange-yellow. So keep an eye on that. Sounds like they probably will play, though, if you're interested in pitchers there. I'm not. Monitor that, though. But, yeah, the biggest concern isn't on the slate. It's at 6:40 Eastern in Philly, though. So pitchers starting. Let's go. We're going to go 9K and up to start at pitcher Nades because this range is going to be popular. Spencer Strider, best pitcher out there right now, at least for DFS. 9.5K prop, pretty much even money. Gets a pitcher's ump behind the dish. All the way up at 12.8K, though. And on a slate, we talked about a little earlier, the Braves, the Red Sox, Texas a little bit too. The offenses you want to play have some expensive bats. So you'll touch on Strider, of course, in a vacuum, the best play. Garrett Cole's right there, though, $1,500 savings. Kodai Senga, we were just talking about it. I can't get to him against these Cubs, but he'll be very low owned. Logan Webb at 9.8K. Freddie Peralta, he will be the chalk SP2. I think Strider, Freddie is the chalk pairing. Not matched against Colorado. 8.5K prop, too cheap at 9.6K. Then Brian Bello wrapping it up at 9K. So 6 pitchers, 9K, Bello all the way up to Strider. What are you doing in this range, Nades?
Yeah, I will start by saying you can't go wrong playing any of these 5. Realistically, I know you don't like Senga too much, Tito, but he's going to get squeezed. He does have tons of strikeout upside. We know he does, right? But what comes with that is his walks, right? This Cubs team has been playing better baseball as of late, but I mean, Senga has tons of upside, and he is pitching at home. I mean, he's got a 29% strikeout rate on the season. This Cubs lineup doesn't strike out a ton, so I don't have a ton of interest in him, but I do think you can certainly play him. I mean, he's $2,800 cheaper than Strider. He does have good K upside as well, so I don't hate it. I actually like Garrett Cole quite a bit in this range because Garrett Cole is sandwiched right between Strider, right between Senga. I'm seeing Senga 15 to 18% owned. I'm seeing Strider right around 30 to 35% owned probably. And Garrett Cole is sub 15% owned against a team that has absolutely quit in baseball here. The White Sox continue to pick on this team with strikeout guys. And Garrett Cole it fits that build. He's pitched very well as of late. Haven't looked at the weather in Chicago here, but I mean, Garrett Cole, 28% K rate on this season, expected ERA at 3.6, limits hard contact. And really, I mean, the only bat that I'm scared of in this White Sox lineup right now is Luis Robert. So I'm not really afraid. I mean, this is probably their best lineup for the most part that they could roll out, but I still do think Garrett Cole has a tons of strikeout upside there. Nice $1,500 savings off of Spencer Strider at the top. And if I'm not going to Strider at the top, which obviously it's a very, very good matchup for Strider at Pittsburgh, tons of strikeout upside. I mean, this lineup that Pittsburgh is projected to roll out has 3 guys at the bottom of the order striking out 47, 46, and 30%. Guy in the middle projected to hit is 33%. I mean, you give a pitcher like Spencer Strider with a 40% K rate on the season, 4 guys in the lineup that strike out 40% or plus. I mean, it's pretty hard to look past, but man, he's 12-8. You can't play Strider. You can't play the Braves bats together. It's just you don't have salary unless you hit up your rep there on DraftKings and get the extra salary boost. But most people can't do that. So Spencer Strider, excellent play. Question is, you're going to need some cheap bats to go with them. Obviously, there is some cheap bats. Milwaukee's got some cheap pieces. The Royals in guaranteed ninth inning at bats, and Fenway have some cheap pieces. But you're going to see a lot of similar builds when you do this Spencer Strider team. So that is one talking point. I mean, a lot of teams are going to go Spencer Strider, Freddie Peralta, the cheap Milwaukee pieces, the cheap Royals bats, and you're going to have the same team. Because I'm seeing Mr. Freddie Peralta coming in at 50 to 55% ownership right now projected. So he is definitely the chocolate slate. Obviously gets these Colorado Rockies. I mean, these Rockies are just brutal. Continue to pick on them. I mean, 31% strikeout rate on the road this season against right-handed pitching, and Freddie has been pitching lights out. He's much better at home. it's very hard to ignore Freddie, especially at 9-6 with his strikeout upside. But I mean, I probably wouldn't pair Spencer Strider and Freddie Peralta together, to be honest with you. I would play one of them. I prefer Strider just because I think he has more upside. But again, he's almost $3,000 more expensive. So you're going to need, if you need that $3,000, you can certainly side with Freddie. I do like Freddie. Brian Bello is the last guy running up this 9K range. He's interesting because people seem to be wanting to play these Kansas City Royals. I'm seeing them as the second highest owned stack right behind the Red Sox. Obviously, Boston, Fenway, good hitting conditions. But Bello still, there's still strikeouts to be got on this Royals team. They're striking out 26% on the road against right-handed pitching. Bello, his strikeout stuff hasn't been there, but he does have upside. And sub 5% owned in this range with K upside with a Kansas City team that people also want to play on the bat side. I do think he's interesting. So ranking this range for me, it's Freddie Peralta number 1, just with the discount. Spencer Strider number 2. Garrett Cole I like a lot because I think he's getting sandwiched in there. And then Logan Webb 4 for me. Bello and Senga would just be MME multi-enter people. I don't think they make my 2 to 3 teams tonight. But I do like all 6 realistically in this range. I think you can definitely round out your pitching in this range. But when you want to play the Braves, which are good offense, Red Sox have some expensive bats you want to play. Texas is in a good spot. Obviously not the greatest hitters park. You're going to need some salary savings. There is some cheaper guys you can play, but you can certainly get away with just playing these top six arms and getting some cheap bats in there.
Yeah, like you said, there's always cheap bats, and a lot of the cheap bats, pretty low ownership too. So like Strider Peralta pairing, you can find a full 5-man stack that'll be in the single digits, cheap bats that way. There's, I guess, cheap pitching. There's a couple guys that we can get to, but how I look at this top range, just to round it out, I agree. Freddie is SP1 for me. I have him projected pretty close to the same as Strider. Not matched against Colorado, 8.5K prop, little juice on the under, but pretty much even money. And you get $3,200 savings off a Strider on a bat or on a slate. I want to play bats. Strider, yeah, just arguably the best will-I pitcher, definitely the best DFS pitcher. 6 straight games of at least 9Ks. 12.8K though, man, that is up there, especially on a good pitching slate. FanDuel 11.5K feels much more doable over there. I'm crossing out Senga. I do get it. Like I have more. He's always a pitcher. You can play him. He's going to be 10%, maybe even single digits. You can also play the Chicago side though if you want really low owned stack. Senga's off early. He's walking guys. He's boom or bust. If you can't find the strike zone, it goes down in a hurry. Get the bad bats or the bad pitchers in the Mets bullpen if the Cubs jump on them early. I don't think the Cubs are crazy. I'll pick the Cubs over the Senga side, but I get what you're saying. I do like Logan Webb. He would be my third guy. Like Garrett Cole's right there too. He'll get squeezed a little bit. He's still 11.3K though. Like I'd rather take the $1,500 savings in Logan Webb. 6 or 8 of his last 10 starts, he's won at least 6 innings. The Ks are always a thing. Like he has a high floor, but he doesn't have like the 10+ strikeout upside as much as the Strider, as the Peraltas of the world. But last game, he got 5 Ks, 22 points right there. He's mixed in some 10, 11s in there. 5-6 Ks. He goes 7 innings, 6 innings. You give me about 18 to 20. I'll take that on the slate at 9.8K. Navigate through a couple of these Angels bats, and after that, it's not worrisome. So Logan Webb's number 3 in this range. Yeah, I'm probably out on Brian Bell. There's a couple guys I like cheaper, 9K. I just rather go Freddie. So I'll rank them Freddie 1, Strider 2, Webb 3, Cole 4 in this range. But let's talk a little bit. I'm not even going to break up range. We'll just go all the way 9K and below. A couple of names that are standing out. Dane Dunning, the first one, coming off the monster performance, 11 Ks against the White Sox. Ship for a lot of people over here at chippination.com. 7.2K, the nut matchup. One of the best matchups against Oakland. 5.5K props, some juice on the over. Guy right in that range, though, that'll be a third or the fourth of the ownership, Patrick Sandoval, against the other side of the Logan Webb game. Also 5.5K prop, juice on the over a bit. It's pretty much the same as Dane Dunning. You'll get a fraction of the ownership. I don't mind going to that pivot right there. Dylan Cease at 8.5K. Always has a good K prop. Third highest on the slate today, and he's like the 7th highest price pitcher. Boomer bust play, kind of just like Senga, but there's some strikeouts to be had. And this Yankees lineup, it's definitely better with Judge, but the bottom of the order doesn't scare me much. And I guess if I have to name one other name, if you want to go all the way down punt, it is a slate, like a Strider. You want to go Ken Waldichuk. If I had to punt anyone down here, it would probably be him. I know people might say Ryu, awful game, 6.5K, but Waldichuk is 5.4. I like him more than Lambert or Reagans. So on a slate, I really need a punt. 5.5K prop, pretty solid. Some juice on the under. But this range, I want you for sure to talk about Cease, Dunning, Sandoval, Waldichuk, and then anything else you're looking at in this range.
Yeah, Cease is an interesting talking point here. I just wish, 8,500, there's still, find 1,100, get up to Freddie. I get it, right? Freddie's much higher owned, but Cease is still going to come in 15 to 20% owned at 8,500. He's got a good K prop. There is strikeouts in this Yankees lineup. Stanton, 32%. Rortvaart in there, the catcher, going to be in there. At least he's projected to be in there 50%. Volpe strikes out 32%. Jake Bauer is expected to lead off 30%. So, there is still strikeouts there. Dylan Cease, been pretty solid, 27% K rate at home on the season. So I do think people do play him. I would just rather get up to Logan Webb or Freddie personally than play Dylan Cease. But I get the reason for people going there. I'm just looking to save a little bit more money because I like one of those top arms for sure. Logan Webb, Garrett Cole, Strider, Freddie. That I want to save if I'm going down here to play some more expensive bats, get a mini stack Braves or find a way to get a 5-man Brave stack or something like that, or 5-man Boston stack, including like Devers and Yoshida, the expensive bats. I need some more salary savings than Dylan Cease at 8,500. It's going to start with Dane Dunning. I don't care. He's getting ownership. It's just hard for me to pass up. Gets a great matchup here. Good pitchers park in Oakland. I'm not seeing extreme chalk. It'll probably get steamed up a little bit, but there's so many of those guys up at the top that people are okay. Like I said, playing Kansas City Royals, guaranteed ninth inning at bats in Fenway, good hitting conditions, and playing Spencer Strider and Freddie Peralta. You lock in Freddie and Spencer Strider in your optimizer, you're getting a 5-man Kansas City stack. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's every team spitting that way out. So I don't think Dane Dunning is going to get extreme like 40-50% ownership or anything like that. So I do like Dane Dunning coming off an incredible performance. Now gets Oakland here. This lineup, 26% strikeout rate. It is just ugly. Team ISO 139. I'm not afraid of any of these guys. I don't care. The only guy, Seth Brown, sure. Seth Brown, good numbers against right-handed pitching at home, but I'll take my chances with other 8 guys that all strike out right around 25 to 30% or higher with Dane Dunning at 7,200. So I like him. Patrick Sandoval, I just haven't been a Sandoval guy. He's killed me multiple times. I get the reason. It is a good, pretty decent pitcher's park there in LA. I do think it's more of a pitcher's battle there. Logan Webb. Sandoval, I do like Logan Webb on the one side, so I think Sandoval sure is fine if you need to, but not a ton of interest. I do think Rue, some guys are going to go to him, but I'm just not going to go to him. I'm still going to take a wait and see approach on him. Not going to target him against a Kansas City or a Cleveland team that just typically is a low strikeout team, puts the ball in play. Obviously, this lineup has been this lineup that they rolled out is pretty gross for the most part for Cleveland, which is interesting. Oscar Gonzalez hitting in the 4-hole. Cole Calhoun's back in the lineup. Arias, Rochio, whoever these guys are. This Cleveland lineup is pretty gross looking at it. So I do think more people are going to go to Rue. I would just rather, if I'm coming down here, to punt with either Ken Waldichuk or Cole Reagans. Reagans did have a pretty good game his last game. People are going to go to Boston. Boston's projected to be the highest on stack of the day. And we've seen this tail before, this tape before, title. When Boston is the chalk, more times than not, they've let you down. So I do think at 5,200, came off a good game. 5,200, you can play him with one of those top arms of 5-man stack, the best team on the slate in the Braves that could absolutely just dust the entire slate. So that allows that kind of open roster construction up there. So I do like Waldichuk, Reagans. So for this lower range, it's really Dane Dunning clearing away number 1 for me, not even close. And then I'm just going to go down all the way to Waldichuk or Reagans if I'm coming down here, because I do like those top 6 guys. So I only really need a couple of these guys down here to make things work.
Yeah, no, great breakdown there. Jason, quick question in chat. Is there enough upside with the Peralta, Dunning, pairing, fading both Strider and Cole for a nice amount of savings? Yeah, most definitely there is. I Peralta projected ahead of Garrett Cole, like the matchup more. Definitely like in a vacuum there. And as far as Strider, I mean, 12.8K, like, hey, we just saw what Dunning did last performance. He does have that upside. Gets another great matchup here. Freddie definitely has the upside. So, yeah, they most definitely do. The more I talk about the bottom range, and it definitely is gross because Patrick Sandoval has not been good this year, but 200 less than Dunning. And I agree with you. Like, the Peralta Strider pairing will be the most popular, but there's no way Dunning gets ignored. What he did last slate with Oakland, with the price tag, like when you go below 8K, not many pitchers stand out. Sandoval's the pivot right there. The Giants' worst against left-handed pitching. This K prop's about the same as Dunning. I think he'll be a third, a fourth of the ownership, maybe even a fifth. I don't know exactly. I expect single digits for them. What steam does Dunning gets the question. So, yeah, I like Sandoval down here. I'm going to rank him number 1 in the lower range. Other than that, I think taking a shot on Cease at 8.5K, he was grouped out of the 9K and above and stuff, but he would be in there as well. I totally get your Dunning call, and there's ways you can get different at bats. If he's 4 times higher owned, I don't think he has a 4 times higher chance to outscore Sandoval. I get you down there. You liked Reagan's a little more than Waldachuk, it seemed. I would side Waldachuk, but yeah, outside of Dunning and Sandoval, like, you really don't need to go below those two if you don't want. There's enough good pitchers up top. So I'll rank them total, or like including all of the ranges. I'm still going to go Freddie 1. Yeah, I mean, it is Strider 2, but with pricing and when it comes to bats, like, he might slide down the list. Maybe I'll go Webb 2, Strider 3, Sandoval 4, something like that. But those are my top 4. Is how I'm doing it. What do you got? Top 4, all prices included.
Yeah, Freddie's number 1 for me. I just love the matchup, love the upside. Dane Dunning number 2. I like that pairing quite a bit. It is going to be owned, but I don't care, to be honest with you. I'd rather eat chalk at pitching. I think both of them are great out well in our metrics over here. Both of them look good on everything that I look at. So I like those two. Garrett Cole, number 3 for me in there. I just think he comes in lower owned and gets a White Sox team that's littered with strikeouts. And then I'm going Logan Webb, number 4. It's just Spencer Strider, incredible play, obviously. It's just, man, he's almost 13K. He needs a big boy number to make that pay off, especially if the Braves do anything on offense, because there's zero chance you can afford him and a Braves 5-man stack, or even, 3-man stack of the bats that you want to play: Acuna, Murphy, Olsen, those guys. So Strider needs a big boy number. Obviously, best arm on the slate, minus 285 favorite. Like, everything checks out for him. It's just it's a salary matchup play for me.
I like it, yeah. So I was typing in the slate plan. On the slate plan for Hoop today, Riza said, I'm just wondering about the weather. I Peralta and Dunning in my single entry optimal. Yeah, no, weather should be good for both those for sure. So looking at raw stuff right now, Atlanta pit is yellow. So if you're looking at Strider, monitor that a bit. Looks like more likely than not it should be good, but monitor that if you're trying to play Strider. Chicago Mets looks like the worst on the slates. If you're looking at Senga, monitor what Roth has to say there. Drew Smiley on the other side. We didn't talk about, not much interest. But if you like Smiley, Strider, or Senga, look at updates that Kevin Roth does over there. Check out his Twitter, Kevin Roth on Twitter. Does all great weather. That's what we look at. Free, does a good job. But more than likely, weather should be not an issue today. If you're playing the 340s or the 640 slates, the Philly game looks like a concern, but not something we have to worry about. Good stuff at pitching, Nades. What you do at pitching should depend on bats too. If you're going a Dane Dunning Cease pairing or a Senga Freddie even or something like that, you're going one lower owned pitcher. You're not playing 2 of, I'd probably say, Dunning, Strider, Peralta. Maybe I'd throw Cole in there, but I'm not even sure. If you're not playing 2 or 3 of Dunning, Peralta, Strider, you can eat more chalk at bats. We're going to go game by game like always, though. And a lot of the chalk of the slate or the highest team totals have very expensive bats in the lineup. So it's going to be a tricky one. I'm excited to go game by game, though. Again, we appreciate that like button. Appreciate that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. 8 games, Nades. First game of the night. Let's go 640. There we go. Atlanta Braves, Pittsburgh Pirates, Spencer Strider, Osvaldo Bido on the mound. We got about 75 degrees in Pitt. Talking about the Braves, talking about one of the chalkiest on the slate. The Braves have the highest team total. But then you look at their lineup: 6.6K, 5.6, 6K, 6.2, 5.5, 4.5, 3.9, 4.1, 4.2. So, hey, we got one guy under 4K right there, Rosario, 3.9K. If you want to 5-man this team, though, you're probably going to need to play a Dunning, a Sandoval, 2 lowish owned pitchers. don't think it's the craziest thing on this slate, but are you going to be doing it? Are you paying up for these Braves? If so, who?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting spot because the Braves are the one team on the slate outside of maybe Texas. But when you consider ballpark, I think the Braves are clearing away the one team on the slate that could absolutely just dust the entire slate in bats. I mean, they could hit 5. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy, right, for the Braves to go out and hit 5, 6 home runs, right? They got the tons of power 1 through 9. That's why their price tags are what they are. I think the Braves are incredible plays. I'm seeing them come in as the 8th highest owned price or 8th highest owned stack, and that's due to price tag, right? Everyone wants to play. People want to play Freddie for sure. I mean, Freddie's the chalk SP. People want to play Strider. I mean, those two take up 80 to 95% ownership combined, I would say. So that's very expensive when you do the math on the salary there. I'm not a math wizard by any means, so I'm going to try and attempt it off the fly here. But when you have everyone in this lineup over 4K outside of one guy, it's hard to do both. I do think they're incredible plays. My priority would be Ronald Acuna the best bat in this lineup, 6,600, tons of upside, stolen base upside, home run upside, everything. But I mean, 1 through 9, you can play these guys. Beto, looking at his numbers current and last season, he does have a decent strikeout rate against lefties. I mean, 23%, right around league average, but he does also walk 12% of lefties. Braves obviously have good lefties in there. He's limited ISO. He's limited power against, but he's a low ground ball guy, gives up a little bit more fly balls to the left side of the plate. So I do think these Braves are firmly in play. The weather does look pretty dicey, which is another thing when you're talking about Spencer Strider too. I mean, 12.8, almost 13K with weather. That's definitely an interesting point. So that's kind of why I was out on Strider too as well. So these bats I do think are safe. At least that's what Kevin Roth has set now. Because even if a delay, the bats come out, obviously if the field conditions aren't the greatest, you might lack some upside there, but it's still the Braves. I mean, you're going for home runs and they're one of the best offenses in baseball, if not the best. So I love them. Pirates side, no thanks for me. I'm not attacking Spencer Strider on this slate. So easy cross off there.
Yeah, so I'll go word for word right now what Roth has up there. He has a tag yellow. Rain looks pretty likely early, so a delay or late start is most definitely on the table, but also clears fairly quickly. Late start and play would be the likely outcome. So bats for sure good, it looks like right now. And if that holds, if you're playing Strider, you're hoping we get a delayed start. We get it before lock. They say they're going to late start this game, then pitcher, everything would be good to go. It seems if they start on time. Right now, it looks like that would be bad news for Strider. But again, I just read directly what he said, monitor that. But it's important on this game. And so, man, my question, Nate, like the Braves, the highest team total on the slate, you think chalk, with pitching up top, like a 5-man Brave stack, does it come in lower owned than people think? Because you like Dunning, and I like Dunning too against Oakland. I like Sandoval. The more I keep talking about it, I think he's going to be way too low owned. The pivot from Dunning, but just play both of them. You can 5-man this Braves team any way you want. If we're talking Braves 7% as a team stack, something like that, just due to the pricing, like I'm good jumping down from pitching, playing a Cease, Dunning, a Sandoval, that even a Walt, like, and just playing a low-ish owned Braves, or at least a lower than what they should be. What are your thoughts on what you see with ownership? Because that's important.
Yeah, 5-man Brave stacks are going to be unowned. I'm going to tell you that right now. Where you're going to see it is 2-man, 3-man stacks, maybe due to salary, because people want to play those top-end arms. I've been playing expensive bats in these mid-tier arms like a Dunning, like a Sandoval, like someone, right, where you save some money. They still have some strikeout upside in their respective matchup. So I'm telling you right now, I mean, there's 7 teams projected to be higher owned in terms of stack percentages than the Braves, how it sits right now. The Mets, Milwaukee, Texas, New York, Toronto, Kansas City, and Boston. I mean, you're going to give me the best offense in baseball, guaranteed 9th inning at bats against a pitcher that I don't think is very good. They could absolutely dust the slate. So it's definitely an interesting route to go. And your roster construction is going to be clearly different than the field, which is always what you want in GPPs.
Yeah, and people like Acuna grades out as one of the best bats on the slate. Like if you leave off Acuna even in your Brave stacks, that alone will make it more different. So, yeah, I agree, because you can't just play Strider, Freddie, 5 Braves, and 3 other. Like, you just can't do it on this slate. So, I think they might come in a little lower owned than people think. Makes you punt pitching, but there are a couple viable options. So, yeah, first game of the night, definitely interesting one. Atlanta, Pittsburgh, follow the weather right there. Keeping it moving to another weather game, Chicago Cubs, New York Mets, Drew Smiley, Kodai Senga on the mound. Got a 9 total, about 80 degrees in New York again. So it looks like these are the two weather concerns. I'm just going to talk like they're both playing. It looks like that's more than likely what's going to happen. For Senga, we talked about him. If you want to play him at low ownership in the upper tier, right in between Strider and Freddie Peralta, he's going to be low owned. Sure, it makes sense. He has upside. However, he also has downside. If he's walking guys, can't find the zone early. This Cubs team has been printing for us. They now leave Wrigley, heading to New York, though, guaranteed 9th inning at bats. Some cheap pieces in the bottom of the order. It's mainly a bet. I mean, Cubs are going to be unowned, and it's a bet. If Senga just doesn't have it early, then you get the worst bullpen, the worst arms out of the bullpen. Again, guaranteed 9th inning at bats, a hot team. I think you could do worse than the Cubs, and it's one of those teams that you could eat chalk pitching. As far as the Mets against Smiley, yeah, I don't mind some of the right-handed power. Pete Alonso right in there, Francisco Alvarez, Lindor's expensive. I don't mind them, but there's other. If I'm spending up, like I'd rather go to the Braves or something like that. So I guess I side with the Cubs, but definitely just a GPP, really low owned spot is how I see it. This game's not going to get much ownership for bats. What do you like?
Yeah, this game's interesting because it is 80 degrees and 16-mile-an-hour winds blowing straight out to left field. At least that's what I'm seeing. I mean, these Cubs, you start walking guys, these Cubs do have power. Last 30 days number, these Cubs have a team ISO of 247, WOBA of 416, and just a 19% strikeout rate. 2 bats in this lineup striking out over 20%. That's Dansby Swanson, Christopher Morel. Obviously, power, tons of power comes with both of those bats. But, I mean, the rest of this lineup, limited strikeouts, good for power. Ian Happ, Bellinger, Swanson, Candelario, Talkman, Horner, Ian Happ. I mean, the list goes on and on. Yan Gomes has been great. So I do think the Cubs are interesting because Senga, we know the walks are there. I mean, double-digit walks over his last 30-day numbers, both sides of the plate. Has limited fly balls, has limited power and hard contact, but wind blowing out, Cubs have been seeing the baseball well. I don't think it's the craziest stack, and some of these guys are pretty cheap. So don't mind the Cubs, prefer them more as a mini stack. On the Mets side, I do think the Mets, I mean, Lindor, Alonso, Vientos, I like Vientos there as a nice value play at 2,300. He's got tons of power against left-handed pitching, so I like him. Brett Beatty's not the worst play. The Mets are interesting as well. So I do like mini stacks in this game. I don't think I'm going to 5-man stack either one of these, but it is pretty solid hitting conditions in Citi Field if that wind, what I'm seeing currently holds true.
Yeah, some Bellinger, I'd go right back to him. I prefer the lefties more. Talkman at the top of the order, Ian Happ right there. I mean, you can play low-owned Dansby, though. All the pop right there. Candyman, first base, third base eligible. Yeah, prefer the lefties, but you can play some of these Cubs. You prefer the mini? Go ahead.
Yeah, I will say I actually, looking at the metrics, Drew Smiley's much worse, especially last 30-day numbers. I would prefer the lefties for the Mets for sure because looking at last 30-day numbers here for Drew Smiley, 609 ISO to the left side of the plate for opposing hitters, 39% fly ball rate. So I do think, I mean, he hits hard. And even on the right side, he's given, 279 ISO, just a 32% ground ball rate. So, I mean, I do prefer the Mets side personally, just because I think Smiley's a worse pitcher than Senga, but I don't mind both sides.
We did just get that lineup out as well. Alvarez in the 2-hole. Yeah, the lineup looks – Ortega's down there. So they got free guys in the 7, 8, 9. It's gross down there, though. Danny Mendick, Rafael Ortega, Jonathan Aruz. It's gross there, so I probably would stick to more 1 through 6. You like the lefties, so you got Nimmo, lefty right there. You got Jeff McNeil, Ortega if you want him for free, but yeah, not too many lefties you have to pick from. I like the Cubs side more. You mentioned mini stack. I probably prefer just the 5-man because it's either Senga completely doesn't have it early and they just turn over the lineup and they're completely unknown and you get them that way, or Senga's on. You're not winning first place anyway. Your team stinks. You already burned 5. You burn your lineup with 5 Cubs. So that's my approach there. Definitely better games on this slate, though. Next game, a little better. Still going to be pretty low on, though. Toronto Blue Jays, Cleveland Guardians, Ryu on the mound, Gavin Williams for the Guardians. 8.5 total. Not the best hitting weather, though. Only 70 degrees. So Ryu completely didn't have it last time out. It was his first start in a long time against Baltimore. Didn't do anything. 5 innings he got through, but 9 hits against, let up plenty of runs, only 3 Ks, left with 3.25 DK points. I still think I like the Blue Jay side more against Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams struggles against lefties. There's some lefties in this order. Brandon Belt's right there. Go to the bottom of the order. Varsho, Kevin Biggio. You want to do a wraparound, Varsho, Biggio, Brandon Belt. Don't think that's the craziest thing. Get Davis Schneider in the 1 hole, second base eligible, homered yesterday. He's sub 3K. Of course, if you want to go Vladdy, you're not playing Belt there, but Vladdy, Springer, get a catcher, Danny Jansen in the 5 hole, pretty affordable. I think you could do worse than these Blue Jays. Probably prefer it more as a mini stack, but Gavin Williams, again, can let it up against lefties. I'm not sold on him yet. Young guy, young pitcher, guaranteed 9th at bat for the Blue Jays. So we have to make cases for some low-ish owned teams. I'll make the case for the Blue Jays. No Guardians for me. What do you got?
Yeah, I do like the Blue Jays a little bit here. I mean, Davis Schneider is Barry Bonds-esque right now. I mean, his 3 games, I think he's averaging close to 20 DraftKings points in his 3 games so far this year. I had him as a one-off yesterday. That was very nice to see. Toronto obviously nuked the slate yesterday. Could they do it again? Yeah, I mean, they could. I mean, Gavin Williams, especially against lefties, 19% walk rate over the last 30 days and 91 plate appearances. Opposing Woba at 360 and an ISO of 181 to the left side of the plate. Prefer the lefties, Brandon Belt, Dalton Varsho, Kevin Biggio, I think are all 3 good plays. Add in 2 more righties there to make a 5-man stack if you want. Davis Schneider, Springer, Donnie Johnson. I mean, Vlad, you can play any of them. Don't love Paul DeJong down there, the newly acquired DeJong with the Bo Bichette injury. But, I mean, you can certainly play any of these guys. I do think 5-man stacks viable for these Blue Jays. I mean, guaranteed 9th at bats against a pitcher that struggles with some walks. Pretty low strikeout rate so far. I do think he's going to eventually be a good pitcher, but he just hasn't had it yet. So these Blue Jays obviously seeing the ball pretty well right now. Not the greatest hitting conditions, but that's kind of the nature of Slate when we have a loaded pitching field, right? You have to pick and choose where you're going to go, and you can't always there's not always going to be great hitting environments in the games that have pitchers that can be attacked. So do you like the Blue Jays? Guardians side, this lineup's pretty gross overall. I mean, Jose Ramirez would be my favorite bat, but he's also 5,700 at the third base position when you want to spend for pitcher. But I think you can stack these Guardians. It's just a bet against Rue being Rue. And, I mean, the dude's made 1 start in the last year and a half in the majors, and you saw what happened last game. So I do think you can play these Guardians, and Guardians are free. I mean, they're 4-hole hitters, sub 3K, 5-hole 2,400, Arias 2,700, 2,300, 2,200, 3,100. So, I mean, they have 3 bats over 4K in this lineup. The rest of them are all sub 3K. So they're certainly very, very cheap against a pitcher that struggled, got barreled at 11% clip, 13% K rate, and expected ERA north of 8. I do think the Guardians are firmly in play here. And I don't think they get much ownership at all because everyone looks at this lineup. I think more people play Rue than more people play the Guardians bat. So at their price points against a pitcher making his 2nd start in over a year, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, with those prices, I take that back a little bit. Like the minis, if you're Strider's on the slate, the Braves are on the slate, Garrett Cole, Logan, like there's a lot of expensive pieces that you want on your team. If you like your squad and you have a 5-man stack, 2 pitchers, and you have 3 spots left and 2.4K for all of them or something, you can get a little mini stack for the Guardians to fill out the roster. So I don't mind that. And yeah, talk about J-Ram over the weekend, man. What a right hook from the moon right there. Tim Anderson, he won't see the end of that, but that was very, very rarely do you get a scrap like that in baseball. So that was pretty cool to see. Tim Anderson took the worst of that one, that's for sure. Keeping it rolling. Next game on the slate, Kansas City Royals, Boston Red Sox, Cole Reagans, Brian Bello on the mound. 75 degrees in Fenway, 9.5 total. No one's going to play the Royals, one of the lower team totals on the slate, but kind of like we just said last time with the Guardians, there's plenty of cheap bats. Matthew Beatty right there, 2.2K in the 5-hole. Outside of Bobby Witt at 5.5K, everybody is below 4K, and only one guy is above 3K. That's Miguel Garcia in the leadoff spot. MJ Melendez 3K in the 4 spot. So you can play any of these Royals. for cheap, pair him with the expensive 5-man, pair him with expensive bats. As far as the Red Sox side, kind of similar spot as the Braves. However, they have more cheap bats in the bottom of the order that makes stacking them 5-man easy. And Refsnyder leading off, 2.7K. He's going to be popular. So I think the Red Sox probably come in probably the chalkiest on the slate, pretty close to it just due to the prices. Good spot against Reagan's, the lefty, though. What are your thoughts on Boston compared to the Braves in a vacuum at first? And then when you're talking ownership, I think they're higher owned. I assume you do as well. What are you doing with the Red Sox compared to like the Brewers, the Rangers, other teams we have not got to yet?
Yeah, I see both these teams as the two chalkiest stacks of the day. I talked about the Royals. The reason for that is their lineup. I mean, much like the Guardians, they have everyone outside of 2 bats in this line. 1 bat over 4K. The rest are all under 4K. Majority of them under 3K. So I mean, Michael Massey, Melendez, Matt Beattie, Drew Waters, Kyle Isbell. I love these lefties that Kansas City's rolling out because Ballo struggles against the left side of the plate. Team ice or expected ISO 180 against the lefties, just a 16% strikeout rate. He is a ground ball pitcher, so I don't love stacking against a ground ball pitcher too much. But I do think, I mean, those guys are cheap. He struggles. Michael Massey fills a weak second base position at 2,500. Good value play there. Melendez, I mean, this dude can't hit his way out of a wet paper bag right now, but he's 3K in the 4-hole. Matt Beattie in there. I think they acquired him from the Dodgers. If I'm not, I thought he was on the Dodgers last year. I know that. But he's 2,200 in the 5-hole. Drew Waters, I mean, 2,800. Kyle Isbell. I mean, these guys are cheap, but they are going to be. I'm seeing the second highest owned stack of the board because it allows you to fill out your roster with those expensive arms, Title, and that's why they're going to get ownership. That's one thing to look at when you're looking at ownership and do you trust it or not. I actually do, because looking at these price points, the lineups, if you run any optimizer out there right now, lock in Spencer Strider, 90% majority of your teams are going to give you a 5-man Kansas City stack, guaranteed 19 at bats in Fenway with a 4 implied run total. That they're going to be chalky. I prefer the Red Sox side. Red Sox is the chalk of the slate. Typically, that doesn't go too well. It's burned me before, but Cole Ragans, I mean, he did have a good start last time out, but does it continue? I don't know if it continues. I typically like Boston better at home anyways. Ragans between current and last season gets hit harder from the right side of the plate, and Boston does have some good righties in there. Justin Turner, Refsnyder is a pinch hit risk. Once Ragans doesn't leave this game, Refsnyder is likely going to come out. And I mean, at 2,700 on the highest implied run total behind the Braves on the slate, I mean, he's going to be 20 to 30% owned, I would say, and likely only going to get maybe 2 at bats, possibly 3 at max. Because once a right-handed pitcher does come in, Refsnyder is likely going to be pinch hit for, unless the game is so far out of reach, it doesn't really matter. Justin Turner, Duvall, I mean, I think these guys are fine plays. Connor Wong down there in the 9-hole at catcher, 2,600. Pablo Reyes is fine. So I do like these Red Sox. Much prefer the Red Sox side over the Guardian or the Royals ownership. Royals lefties for me, and then 1 through 9 for the Red Sox are firmly in play for me.
Yeah, the Red Sox are going to get ownership. I like the Braves more. I think they're going to be lower owned. I like them more in a vacuum as well. A couple other teams I prefer. So they're not going to crack my top 3. And again, they're going to be one of the highest owned teams on the slate. If you do play them, like Refsnyder is going to be the most popular in this lineup, 2.7K, batting leadoff. If you throw him out, the lefties might get overlooked a little bit. Everyone still plays Devers, but Yoshida right there in the 2-hole. Tristan Cassis, no one's going to play him at first. I wouldn't mind trying to get different in your Red Sox stacks a little bit. People are going to play little Luis Urias, second base, third base eligible. Yeah, I guess just if you take away Refsnyder right there and you stack them 5-man, you'll get a little different than if you did include Refsnyder there. So that'd probably be my preferable approach to it. I do like the Braves more and a couple teams later, 2 more teams for sure later. But it's a pretty tough 8-game slate for bats. I mean, a lot of viable pitchers. That means there's a lot of pretty low team totals when it comes to the bat side. So it's an interesting slate for sure. Let's get to the next game. New York Yankees, Chicago White Sox, Garrett Cole, Dylan Cease, 70 degrees, 75 degrees in Chicago. Winds blowing across the field, means nothing. I mean, I'm not playing the White Sox against Garrett Cole. there's no chance. And as far as the Yankees against Dylan Cease, I mean, yeah, you can make a case. Cease is kind of like Senga. I mean, you look at what Cease just did last time out. 1 inning, 7 hits against, negative 15 DK points. Like, he does have that blow-up potential. These Yankees, the top of the order, Stanton's been on fire. Judge is back in there. Torres went deep yesterday. McKinney, always cheap, grades out well for us. Your boy Jake Bauers in the leadoff hole. So I guess you can do worse than them, but I'm more team Cease than I am team Yankees. Like, I'd rather chase the upside at Cease at 8.5K when he'll be low-ish owned at pitcher than I would play these Yankees. So cross off for me, I would definitely prefer Yankee side over the White Sox. What are you doing in this game, though? Are you getting any Yankees?
Yeah, I don't think the Yankees are the craziest. Let me just pull up Cease's last 30. I look at last 30-day numbers a lot. And looking at the Yankees, I will always bring up Jake Bauers. I mean, the dude continues to be free, bat and lead off with tons of power. I mean, last 30 days, he's got 438 ISO. That's higher than Judge. That's higher than Stanton. That's higher than anyone on this team. Billy McKinney's right there, too, at a 200 expected ISO last 30 days. Against right-handed pitching. He's 2.3K in the 5-hole, guaranteed ninth inning at bat. I don't think it's the craziest take. I don't love stacking against Cease, so I would look more as minis. But last 30-day numbers, Cease has gotten hit pretty hard from the lefties, so bodes well for McKinney, bodes well for Jake Bauers leading off there. If you want a free catcher as a punt, down there in the 9-hole, you could play that Ben, however you pronounce his last name, Ben R, I'm going to call him. And then obviously you can always play Aaron Judge. Gleyber Torres has had a pretty solid season. You can play him. Stanton is just hit a bomb. You can play him. So don't hate the Yankees. I mean, they're still implied to score 4.6 runs against Dylan Cease. Just saw what Cease did last game. Do I expect that again? No, probably not. But these Yankees could get you some home runs as one-offs or mini stacks. So that's where my interest resides. Definitely Jake Bauers, my favorite bat in this lineup, first base, outfield eligible. Prefer to play him at the outfield spot at 2,600, but if you need a value first base spot and you play, for example, the Braves stack and you don't play Matt Olson and you play 3 Braves outfielders, fill all your outfield spots, you can put Jake Bauers there at the first base spot and get you some value that way. White Sox side, for me, easy stay-away spot against Garrett Cole. I'm not going to pick on Garrett Cole with a team that basically quit on the season, so no interest there.
I like it. 3 games left on the slate. Looking at chat. Ty Party, new to the channel. Do you guys do cash games? Yes, we do. In the cash streets every single day over here in pretty much every sport. If you want cash scores from us, from me, from Hoop, when I'm not on it, SHIPITNation.com, FanDuel, and DraftKings, we give you cash plays. NBA, NFL, MLB, MMA, PGA, all the sports we cover over here. We are in the cash streets as well. Appreciate you hanging out with the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Ty Party. We do shows every single day on this channel. MLB, soon NFL. We'll be talking on this channel. Cannot wait for that. Next thing you know, NBA season will be right around the corner. Best ball, PGA, MMA shows as well. Bill B in here. Oh, we're going to get to that. I cannot wait. Talk a little Tyrone Taylor action. That's the next game on the slate. But like button, appreciate it a ton. And if you do want our content over here at SHIPITNation.com, head on over. $59 a month, $599 a year. Colorado Rockies, Milwaukee Brewers, Peter Lambert, Freddie Peralta, 8.5 total. The Brewers, they'll be one of the chalkier teams on the slate. 5.3, 5.4 team total. That's good for 4th on the slate. The Rockies definitely won't be played. If you want the ultimate game theory, Freddie Peralta, probably the most popular. The Rockies, no one's going to play them. No thank you for me, though. Part of the Brewers, I love, we're talking 1 through 9 are in play. They're very cheap outside of Yelich and William Contreras. Maybe that makes Yelich a little lower owned. People want to go Acuna or some other expensive spots. Maybe not pay all the way up there for Yelich, but he's definitely fine in Brewer stacks. Tyrone Taylor in the 9-hole, always love me some Tyrone Taylor. But this lineup, so cheap outside of those two. Like Santana 4-1, Frelick's been good 4-2, then 2-7, 2-6, 2-9, 3-1, 2.8K. Lambert's no good. Rockies bullpen isn't good. The Brewers are cheap. I guess my question is, do they just get steamed so much where they're over-owned? Like, do we need to focus, if you are playing Brewers, do you only play one of Freddie, one of Strider, mix in a Webb, mix in Cease, mix in a Sandoval, something like that? Or do you think you can get away with a Freddie, 5-man Brewers, and Strider?
Yeah, I mean, Brewers probably going to be a top 3 on stack, especially with this lineup that they rolled out because Marcana, Monasterio, Turang, Anderson, Taylor, those guys are all cheap in there. The top 4 guys are expensive. Carlos Santana would be my favorite. Sal Frelick, probably my second favorite, and then Yelich. Yelich is just 5,600. I do think Yelich does go under-owned at that salary. I think people look at the outfield spot, rather play a Braves guy, rather spend up a little bit more, spend $1,000 more for Acuna, something like that. So Yelich probably goes under-owned. He's been the best Brewer hitter as of late, so I do like him. But in terms of roster construction, I probably wouldn't play Peralta and Strider and 5-man these Brewers because you're going to have the same 5 bats. It's probably going to be one of the top 4 hitters, Santana, Frelick, Contreras, or Yelich, and then 4 of these cheaper guys in Canna, Monasterio, Turang, and then either Brian Anderson or Tyrone Taylor based on position due to salary, because that's the price. That's the salary you're going to need. And with a 5.5 implied run total at those price tags, optimizers and projections are just going to group those teams together, and you're going to have the same kind of build as everyone else. So prefer you wouldn't 5-man stack the Brewers and play Peralta. Probably I would look more as a mini stack for the Brewers. Peter Lambert, actually, he ranks pretty good, which is interesting in our pitcher rankings. Not to say I'm going to play Peter Lambert. He is 5K. So, I mean, if you want to punt, you could play him. But it's more of a, hey, he ranks pretty good in our metrics, looking at StatCast data and stuff, looking at the last 30-day numbers. He doesn't strike anyone out, which I don't like. But, I mean, he doesn't give up power. I mean, .036 against both sides of the plate for ISO numbers. Ground ball almost at 60%. Fly balls at under 20%. So he limits fly balls. He's a ground ball guy, goes out there, game manages. I could see the Brewers busting here against Lambert. I'm going to say it. Lambert does have a 20% K rate on the season. Brewers can have some strikeout concerns. I mean, Turang, 26%, Anderson, 31%, Taylor, 28%. So the back half, Lambert could pick up a couple strikeouts at 5K. Not saying I'm going to play Lambert. It's just I might look elsewhere than the Brewers stack, especially when they're going to get ownership here. I'm likely going to be underweight on Brewers stacks, mini stacks only for me for the Brewers. Rockies side for me, you can always make a case to stack against the highest owned pitcher on the slate. I don't think you need a 5-man stack. There's just that's too much leverage in my opinion. But Ryan McMahon, Nolan Jones would be my preference. The 2 lefties there with power. But outside of that, I'm not going to mini stack or stack a team that's got a 31% K rate on the year against a good strikeout pitcher at home. So no interest really in the Rockies, but Brewers, I'm underweight on the Brewers.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that take one bit. Just the nature of the slate, hitting being tough, the prices for the Brewers, like they're going to get ownership for that reason. Again, I don't think Lambert's great, but he does grade out pretty well in our pitching rankings over here. And we always say, like, that doesn't mean I'm going to be going clicking that Lambert name down below, even though Shannon Lambert, the cousin, which not actually the cousin, she made it sound, but she said, I'm going to play him down there. And it's not the craziest thing. I mentioned Waldichuk. Nades mentioned Reagan's 5.4K, 5.2K for the same type of thing. Then you can play any bats you want, Strider, Cole, whatever it may be. If you want to do that with Lambert down there, no one's going to play him either. I just prefer Waldichuk. Man, it's just, yeah. The more you talk about it, maybe the Brewers will just be over-owned. But then I scroll up and we see who we've talked about in these previous games outside of the Braves. I mentioned the Blue Jays a bit, the Cubs because of their ownership. Like, it is a tough slate today. So we got 2 games left. Nade's excited to see if you have interest. I know one team you'll have interest in. I will too. But these other 3 teams, let's see what you got to say. San Francisco Giants, Los Angeles Angels, Logan Webb, Patrick Sandoval. 75 degrees in LA. We got 8.5 total. The lineup is out. The Angels lineup's out, not the Giants. Someone mentioned Brandon Jury in the 3-hole. So I like Sandoval because I don't think the playing the Giants is the craziest thing, but San Francisco worse against left-handed pitching, and then he's right in the range of Dane Dunning, pretty much the same K prop, solid pitching weather. Like, Sandoval is going to be a guy that if I need to get different, I'm totally good getting different there, eating more chalk at bats. So I'm going to say no Giants. And I like Logan Webb too against these Angels. So talk me into some of these bats if you can, but it's a no for me. What do you got?
You can always play Ohtani, Goat Tani, best player in baseball. You can always play him, but 6,500. Much rather just find $100 to get to Acuna against the worst pitcher. So actually, this game for me is complete fade for bats. I think both pitchers are viable. Don't like bats on either side, but obviously you can always play Ohtani. Some of these Angels you could pick some power against, but I'm not going to attack Logan Webb on the slate. I do think he's a good pitcher play. So just pitchers only in this game for me, no bats.
Jake, you make me feel bad, man. You said Shannon a dude. If so, I'm sorry, Shannon. Guy, girl, I don't know. Every time I look, I always just process it as a girl. I know a couple Shannons. If it's a guy, hey, we don't care. It's a name on the screen. How the heck am I supposed to know? But regardless, Shannon's been here multiple times. Always see he or she in chat. So, guy, girl, we love having you in here regardless. But now you do have to let me know because I hope I can own this one to Jake. But you're definitely making me second guess myself, Jake. We got one game left on the slate, about 300 watching, 80 likes. Do us a favor. Let's get over 100 likes. 120 would be awesome. We'll get you the dog of the day, low-ish owned pitcher of the day as well. We got one game left on the slate. Jake, I got you, Shannon. Like Jake knows Shannon like it's her best friend or something. Come on, Jake. You got no clue what you're talking about either. Last game, Texas Rangers, Oakland Athletics, Dane Dunning, Ken Waldichuk. 70 degrees in Oakland, wind blowing out a little bit, but definitely more pitcher friendly, over hitting friendly. Dane Dunning's going to get some ownership. Man, I still don't love these A's though. And talking Ken Waldichuk, if I had to punt anyone, I said it'd be him, but I don't think he's good. And I don't think the A's bullpen is good. I like the Rangers. There's no doubt about that. How do I like the Rangers compared to the Braves, the Brewers and stuff like that? I think the Braves are going to be lower owned. Like I think Rangers are higher owned. I think Brewers are higher owned, and I think we just talked about it, and the Red Sox are all higher owned than the Braves. So naturally, that makes me like the Braves the most. And I do think Dunning, Sandoval, Cease, there are cheap pitchers you can go to, but this projected lineup, like Seager should be back in it. And I love the Rangers way more when Seager's there. Guaranteed ninth inning at bat. I don't love the park. I don't love the weather, but I like the matchup. I like the guaranteed ninth inning at bat. I like the lineup Texas is rolling out. If I do stack them, like I think Mitch Garver will be one of the more popular plays. If Duran's in the 3 hole, Ezekiel Duran will be one of the more popular plays. Like 5-man them and leave off those two, and then you'll get a little different right there. Not saying they're going to be low owned, but you make that stack a little less owned. I like the Rangers though. On a slate like this, one of my favorite stacks for sure. But how do they rank amongst these other teams?
Yeah, I mean, they are going to be higher owned than the Braves. Just looking at the price points, I mean, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 5 bats in this lineup. 5 of the 9 hitters are under 4K. The Braves have one guy under 4K, and that's 3,900. So 3/4 of this lineup for the Rangers are cheaper than every bat on the Braves lineup. So you can 5-man stack these Rangers and play one of those top arms. It's very doable. So what I would do is not 5-man Rangers and play Freddie Peralta. That's one way to be different. Freddie Peralta clearing away the chalk SP. Just don't 5-man stack the Rangers with Freddie, and you're different already. And then it doesn't matter what bats you play, because I do love my guy Zeke. Zeke's treated me very well all year. Hit a bomb yesterday, the day before, or something like that. I thought I saw his name come up. Can steal bases, especially if he's in the 3 hole. I love him. Shortstop, outfield eligible. Corey Seager should be back. I mean, the lefties have absolutely tattooed Waldichuk over the last the current season. 232 ISO, fly ball rate of 26%. I mean, Waldichuk right around league average in terms of strikeout, but get hit hard. I mean, 220 ISO to both sides of the plate. Ground ball is under 40%, which isn't good. I mean, you're seeing good ground ball pitchers up around 60%. So he's about little under half that. So I do think these Rangers firmly in play for me. One of the best offenses in baseball too. I think they're a top 3 offense behind the Braves, behind the Dodgers in terms of runs scored. They can hit power, hit home runs. You're going to get some cheap bats in here. Mitch Garver against a lefty, obviously historic lefty smasher. But looking at current season, I mean, Semien, Seager, Duran, Adolis Garcia, Robbie Grossman's actually got pretty decent numbers. Mitch Garver, I mean, 1 through 9 are in play for me. On the A's side, for me, I just don't think Dane Dunning's getting enough ownership in terms of wanting to stack against him, but it is baseball. Seth Brown would be my preference, just a power hunting 3,300 value guy that could hit some power. But overall, I mean, looking at the sample size for these weather conditions, it is actually pretty favorable hitting conditions for the park. Obviously not the greatest park, but that's the nature of the slate. Bad bullpen, bad starting pitcher, in my opinion. Give me these Rangers is one of my favorite stacks of the night.
I like it. That's all 8 games. Let's rank our favorite stacks because it is tough and I hardly even know. I definitely like the Braves one. There's no doubt about that. And the more I think about it, like I'm good taking one cheap pitcher or something like that and getting some of these Braves because if I have to go 3 teams, the second team is the Rangers. Like the Brewers, the more you talked about it, they probably are just over-owned. So I guess it'd be Rangers too. They're going to be owned though. The Cubs, I guess I'll say 3 is my low-owned stack. It'd either be Cubs or Blue Jays of the off-the-radar teams. But like I said, I just think Braves, they're not going to be low-owned by any means, but I think they're lower than people think is a 5-man stack, which everything we talked about in this 8-game slate, the Braves lower-owned than I think they should be, I'd rather talk about it now, get a little more different at pitching, at least at one of the spots, at least pay down, afford some of these Braves. I think Boston's over-owned. I prefer Brewers to Boston. Cubs lower-owned, though. I think they're fine. But, Nate, what do you got? Your top 3 stacks. It's a tough one today.
Yeah, Braves number 1 for me, tier of their own. You do need to make some sacrifices at pitching, but Braves offense could make it up. I'm going to go Texas, number 2. I do like Texas. I'm just going to continue to play good offenses. And then my third, I'm actually going to go – it's tied between the Cubs and the Mets. I'm going to go to the Mets because you gave the Cubs. I do think the Mets, 4.7 implied runs. I like the lefties against I don't mind the lefties, even lefty, but obviously Lindor, Alvarez is a nice price point there. Mark Vientos is a nice price point, good lineup position. So I do like the Mets a little bit against Smiley here, and Smiley has been known to blow up. So give me the Mets.
Don't mind that one bit. They will be low-owned as well. Talking low-ish owned pitcher on the slate. I brought it up multiple times, though. I'm going Patrick Sandoval. Hasn't been great this year. Has some spikes, K performances in there. K rate was much better last year, but 5.5 K props, some juice on the over. It's right in the same range. It's mainly a game theory. Everyone's going to – not everyone, but if people pay down, they're going to go Dane Dunning for 7.2 K. $200 cheaper, so you get the huge ownership discount, probably 4 times as much. Same K prop. Good pitchers park. This Giants team's works against lefties. A lot just lines up for Patrick Sandoval for me today. So taking a low-owned shot on him. Who do you got?
Yeah, it's tough for a low-owned guy outside of who you brought up. I will bring up Garrett Cole up at the top. I think he's going to be much lower owned than Logan Webb, Strider, Peralta. I think he gets squeezed. We still know what Garrett Cole, the other start, he gave up 4 runs or something in the first inning, still came back and scored, 17 or 18 DraftKings points. That just shows you his strikeout upside. I think it's good strikeout upside here against Chicago. So give me Garrett Cole at the top at sub 15% and a nice little salary savings off of Spencer Strider.
I love it. We got one thing left, and that is the dong of the day. But first, if you do want Hamwich's FanDuel Core, G. Risen's FanDuel Slate Plan, his favorite pitchers, stacks, one-offs, Nate's DK Core, Cash Core from me, play cash games, FanDuel, DraftKings. You get all my cash cores as well as projections, stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, all up on the site over here at SHIPITNation.com. One low price, $59 a month, $599 a year. And that includes MMA, PGA, best ball, NFL content coming up, NBA content, all for that one low price. And we got about 2 more months of baseball, man. Baseball is a long, long season. Even during NFL show, we will be bringing you baseball shows here on this channel. Dong of the day time, Nades. I'll go first. I am going to the Braves. Do not think he will be very owned, though. Someone asked Hamwich about it in chat. I think it was Marty. Marcelo Ozuna, 4.5 K in the 6th hole. Takes one deep tonight. Again, don't see much ownership going to him. Who do you got? Dong of the day, Nades.
Yeah, I'll go a little 2-pack, same team, little 4-5 stack. Pete Alonso takes Smiley deep, and followed by the value guy, Mark Vientos. Both of them go deep for the Mets. Pretty low owned, so give me the little 1-2 punch there for New York Mets against Smiley.
Vientos, Pete Alonso, Marcel Ozuna. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Hope everybody had a great weekend, has a great Monday night, and monitor weather on this slate. Again, I think all games play as of now. I'm not the weatherman, though. We'll be checking out what Roth has to say. The Pittsburgh-Atlanta game a little bit, and then the other game was Boston, I believe, was the other weather game. No, Chicago and the Mets. Chicago Mets, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, 2 weather games to monitor. Check out all of our content up at shipitnation.com. Get in the Discord if you have any questions. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out. Helps us out a ton. We'll be back tomorrow, as always. For Nades, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.